Tom Carroll. Welcome to the Mojo Wellbeing Podcast. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure,
Thank
Andy.
you for your time. So, Tom, who are you?
Well, if you go by names, could be anything you want. But I'm Tom Carroll. That's my name, Thomas Victor Carroll. I'm 63 years of age. I started, the oceans shaped me a great deal since I was 7 years of age when I started surfing. And I didn't surf in any half-assed way. So I gave myself completely to the ocean and surfing. Under the context of the time, it was appropriate, and then it became, it shaped me from there on, the beach culture, the ocean. So I'm a kind of representation of a life lived fully in the ocean and around about most coastlines I've travelled to around the world, and the ocean, the beach culture, and and the interaction with that from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s to the present moment. I'm a father of 3 beautiful daughters, 2 in the early 30s, 1 in the early 20s. They're just beautiful expressions of themselves, and I love them dearly, of course. I'm not with their mum, but we're still together through our children, and we give that full recognition also. So it's quite special, that I feel. And also I'm partnered with a lovely lady from New Zealand, Mary, and we've been together for almost 16 years. It's crazy to even think. It's sort of gone by so quickly. But as it does, each year becomes shorter, right, as you get older. And we've now welcomed into our life a lesson in itself is a red cattle dog by the name of Rumi. Rumi, yeah.
After the great writer and poet?
The poet, yeah, the Sufi poet, Rumi, who
Love Rumi.
I needed some sort of philosophical understanding of what the hell was going on here when Rumi came into the world, into our life, because I wasn't expecting it the way it was. It just expectation not met, right? Stress. So that was pretty
Rumi
full
the
tilt.
dog or Rumi
This
the
is
poet?
Rumi the dog.
Ah, right.
Rumi.
So Rumi came in when you started the relationship?
No, Rumi's been around for about 3.5 years.
So pretty recent.
Pretty recent. So we had a pet owner pretty much all my life through felines, cats.
Yeah.
Experience, not the canine experience, but I loved dogs all my life.
Yeah, well, I'll let you have a wee drink there. It's funny because when we had a coffee down at Bukacino a couple of weeks ago, I said I'm a dog person. I'm not really into cats, and you described your connection with cats, and it was interesting.
Yeah. And I find it funny that we want to call ourselves a cat or a dog person, because I find that an interesting take on a relationship with animals.
Yes.
Whereas our relationship with animals, the domestic animals or whatever they are, wild animals, they're just such beautiful expressions of themselves, and we kind of tend to sort of box things out, We start doing it at age 7, right? So, but I was always interested in why we want to call ourselves dog or cat people, because I loved cats all my life. I loved their nature, and I loved dogs all my life, and I loved their nature, even though I was very frightened of them. I got bit by a dog when I was real young, and it scared them.
Yep.
Really, it was a Doberman. It was freaking scary. It was like it was a scary moment. It put the shivers up me for many years, but that got broken down just by experiencing nice dogs. And so incrementally that sort of, you could call it PTSD, was broken down, if you kind of label something, there's just that a response to seeing a dog. The dog senses the fear, and if he's a predator, he'll just prey on you. That broke down just incrementally after just sort of interacting with dogs that were really, really nice and loved to be patted and loved the and dogs sense who you are. And so, lo and behold, 3.5 years ago, we got a dog, and and the first 6 months I thought, oh, I'm a cat person because this guy's an asshole. But the arsehole turned out to be me. So I had to learn dog language. So the arsehole had to learn dog language. It wasn't like the arsehole had to learn human language. Yeah. So that was quite a revelation. And now he knows who I am and I know who he is, and it's kind of quite straightforward. And it's a beautiful relationship.
A mutual admiration.
Mutual admiration, but lo and behold, at the time I thought, I just don't know what the hell I'm doing with a dog. I don't know dog language. I don't know how to understand it. It's an Australian red cuddle dog, like the full-on, let's go, I'm going to get a job. If you don't give me one right now, I'm going to get a job, and I don't care what it is, I'm going to get it. And he just started ripping the whole yard up. The whole yard, the whole garden was ripped up and torn up. Like tore all the plants out, tore everything out, tore up the grass. I mean, he was a lot of dog in this little fluffy thing that looked really cute. It looked really cute in the photos.
They're a cattle dog, aren't they?
It's a cat. He's a herding dog.
So they want to be run.
Well, he needs guidance in our environment, in any environment. And the one thing he's built for is to dominate movement. Anything that's moving, he needs to control it. And so he's got written in his DNA to dominate an animal that's 10 to 20 times the size of him, not just one, a whole bunch of them. So he's bred to do that. So he was like, he's just a pup, and he thought, this bus coming down the road's fair game. So he just needs some guidance.
Needs some boundaries.
He needed a few boundaries. Well, I can feel the cattle dog in me, and but it has been a great learning experience. And he's one of those ones where you get this thing and you think it's, oh my God, what am I doing here with this thing? It's just, this is a nightmare. It's going to just blow my life up, which it does for a little while. And you think it's like almost the most silliest decisions in my life to actually get a dog right now. And why am I doing this? Closing the toilet door and finally getting a break in your own home. The dog's barking at the door and you're on the toilet, hands in your head going, this is the most fucked up decision I've ever made in my life. Turns out to be the best. It sort of flips. And
it's funny you mentioned DNA. It's in your DNA. It's in Rumi's DNA to round things up, and which is actually a really good segue because I read your book TC 7 or 8 years ago, but I've reread it. And there's a verse in there from A.A. Milne, which for me goes to your DNA, and it probably was quite prophetic from your father. And the verse is, of all the knights of Appledore, the wisest was Sir Thomas Thom. No other knight in all the land could do the things that he could do. This is a future world surfing champ. Can you tell me how that Sir Thomas Thom, where that comes from and how it lands for you?
Look, I didn't know anything about A.A. Milne when I was a kid. I was never taught about A.A. Milne by my father or anything like that. But I remember the affection and with which he used to sort of, because our father's voice would sort of reverberate in a deep tone from the gut through the house whenever he spoke. It was always strong, authoritative, and usually quite stoic and stern. And sometimes it'd just lift a little bit, and I'd go, oh, Dad's, You know, he always had a very concerned look on his face, very kind of, serious. And all of a sudden when he'd say this, it'd sort of lift a bit. And I'd always take note. Oh, he's talking about me. You know, like, you know, as a son going, oh, my dad's giving me recognition, which he wasn't big on. Recognition, father, you know, but he was very stoic, like I said, and very logical about his actions, very considered, logical, discerning in every way. But when that come out, it was light. And so I really took note. And I didn't get really what it was all about. I just liked the way of Appledore. They're kind of like, oh, where's this Appledore? You know, like, you know, and I didn't know, you know, and all the things that I can do. What is that? You know, like, I was like...
Maybe Appledore became Pipeline, but...
yeah.
And your dad was a very respected journalist. He was the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald for a long time. You mentioned earlier on that, you know, you started surfing when you were 7. Was that as a result of something that Mum gave you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you've read that in the book. I think, well, that was a gift. Well, there's something going on in the house, you know, which was sort of unspoken, and that was the fact that our mum was. It was clear as day, but it was unspoken. It was just, I guess, expected that we were kind of taking note that our mum was really sick and she was getting sicker, and that I didn't know what she had.
Yep.
I didn't know what was going on. I was 6 years of age when she was kind of going that degenerative path of cancer. Yep. She had pancreatic cancer, and that was they didn't know at that time how to deal with what was going on in that area. Is what they know now.
Yes.
They would have picked it up and removed certain parts and reactivated the area, but it's like. Still today, pancreatic cancer is not a good prognosis. And so, but she was passing away at a time when I didn't have the hardware up here to understand at 6 years of age what was going on. We were going to visit her in the hospital out there in the city, and St. Vincent's, and we'd go there and see her on like a Sunday, and all I want to do is see her, give her a hug, and it was always a little uncomfortable on the hospital bed, but I wanted to see her, but then I just want to go outside and play, because 6 years of age, that's what you want to do. You want to go and get active and play, and I'd drag my brother out, and we just go and play on the oval downstairs, outside the hospital, and then we come and say goodbye to Mum, and that was it. And then she'd come home from time to time, intermittently, through that last year. And a year's a long time. At 6 years of age, I can't even... It's all very kind of surreal, kind of my memory of those times. But there's some particular moments, and one of them was that she was coming home for Christmas in 1968. It was 1968. I'd just turned 7, late November 1968, and and there was a rumour going on around the house that there was a surfboard that was going to be given out, and there was only one surf craft amongst the three of us, Joe, Nick, and I, and that had Nick's name on it, and it was an inflatable craft, and I was used to getting something from that Nick used to wear, and I thought, well, the surfboard's going to go to him. Yeah. But great thing is, I'll get to use the surfer plane, because Nick and I used to kind of froth over it harder than Joe. So I was always waiting in the wings to, wait for that go on that surfer plane. So I was thought, oh, it's a win-win. Nick gets the surfboard, I get the surfer plane. Well, Christmas morning comes around. Mum's at home for Christmas, and she was in bed, and we all gathered around in the bedroom, in Mum and Dad's bedroom to say, to celebrate Christmas morning. And we'd already gone through a bunch of little presents, but we knew the big ones were coming. And and we were really excited. It's like the Christmas tree. The whole thing of Christmas is going off. Mum's here, and Dad's there. And so it's the moment of truth's just about to arrive. And my sister, Jo, gets something. And I don't care what Jo gets. She can get whatever she wants. Like... girl stuff, right? I'm thinking bloke stuff, and this is how we thought as boys, like action. And so Jo was getting her thing. Nick got books because that's what Nick loved. He loved reading, and I'd known Nick, don't really know Nick not to read. So he was reading books fully back cover to cover from 5 years of age. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have a memory of him not reading. Yes. And so anyway, he gets books, and I've just gone, bing. Well, where's the surfboard? I'm like, no. So Mum reaches underneath the bed, and she pulls out the surfboard, and it's for me. Wow. And I'm like, oh, like my whole brain explodes, and it's all I can see. Yeah. I can't see anything else. Like the only thing I can see that's recognisable as a thing in the room is the surfboard. And it's this green painted deck with a stripe down one side, yellow stripe, and it's white on the underside, and it's foam. It's like this styrofoam surfboard. Yep. It's kind of light. I can actually pick it up. I remember it, feeling it, just going, oh my God, it's just like the best thing I've ever seen. Yep. By far. It's by far the most extraordinary moment. And I'm like popping off my head. Dad, take me down to the beach. Take me down to the beach. I couldn't think of anything. We've got to get to the beach. So that was my first motivation, was to get to the beach. I didn't know. But that moment was kind of led into... my mum was passing away and I didn't know it. And then it was just a late Feb, I think it was in March. I can't remember the date, but I got the date there somewhere. But she passed only a few months later. So from there on in, that gift has kind of held me in the ocean. And so, and you might want to... we do refer to it regularly as Mother Ocean, Mother Nature. So in essence, there's been something holding me all the time since that moment.
So every time you paddle out,
there's something, I'm moving into her and feeling her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I couldn't put that together for many, many years.
So it explains a lot, doesn't it?
It does. Explains a lot. Yeah, and so I didn't know what I didn't know for a long time. Yeah, until many years later.
And in those early days, apart from hooning around the car park at Newport Surf Club, and a bit later on, you started doing a bit of hard work, panel beating and labouring. And tell me about that and how that might have influenced what you did.
Well, I started gaining some kind of recognition surfing when I was 12 through about 16 when I left school. Yep. And by the time I left school, I wasn't an academically based kind of mind like my brother or my sister. My family in general was quite academic, and I was just, when I was sitting at the table at breakfast or dinner or whatever it might be, it was always like, oh, Tom's what's he talking about? It goes, and my head was pretty much outside the family unit. My head was up a tree. So in general, but I started getting this sort of like recognition in the surfing realm, which was craving some sort of recognition outside the family. I was looking outside and when I started getting recognition, started getting some sort of success, that meant that there was something going on in my innate ability in the ocean, and there was no such thing as a pro surfing tour or anything like that. There were some surfing contests. I'd already won the first pro junior event in the planet ever held. It was at North Narrabeen when I was 15 years of age.
Yep.
That gave me a stepping stone into professional events against my hero, surfing against my heroes. Right? So I'd already had this crazy experience of having this world just at the fingertips just for a second. But I knew at some level I needed to get a trade underneath my belt or something, because I wasn't going on further into year 11 and 12. I wanted to leave school so I could work on a trade and actually take little breaks so I can go and compete. That was the idea.
Yep.
Because I liked competing. And I'd found some sort of formula already for winning in competition. I don't know what it was, but it was in there. It was written in me. And so I couldn't sort of verbalize it. I couldn't, as a feeling thing. And so strategize was, I couldn't verbalize a strategy if you like.
Was it if I win this and then I win that?
Yeah. It was, I had that message, the message that kind of gave me that kind of ambitious kind of vision of kind of stepping on was given to me when I was, I think I was 12 years of age. I was, I just got my first trophy. It was a first place trophy at the Peninsula Board Riders Club at Palm Beach, which I used to hitch to on a Saturday morning and then come back on a Sunday evening, with my good buddy, Michael Tremolo. And we used to go and hang out up there and surf in the club event. There was no such thing as Newport Plus Board Riders, which we created in the 70s. But the club president, Owen Ravenscroft, he came along with his clipboard. I had this trophy in my hand at the awards, the end of the year awards, and it was just this grey overcast day. I'll never forget it. We're in the sort of, somehow we're on the beach and on the sand. It was a low tide. I'll never forget. It was a low tide, so it was a large sandbar revealing itself somewhere in this picture, the memory. And I was looking at my trophy and I was going, wow, how cool is this? This is like first place. And I had no idea how I got it. Like I was just out there surfing. But there it was. And he goes, Tom. And he had a very lovely disposition in the way he talked. And he kind of had little chuckles in the way he talked sometimes with me. And he goes, Tom, would you like to, enter into the Northern Beaches? The Northern Beaches, I said, what's that? He goes, that's when you surf against all the surfers in your age group from Manly to Palm Beach, the Northern Beaches. That's the Northern Beaches area. I go, wow. I said, man, I'm going to surf against all the crew. Oh, it's wild. I said, but because I had this first place, he goes, what happens if I win that? And he goes, well, you you go to the state titles.
Yeah.
You go to the state titles. I said, what if you win that? You go to the national titles. I said, what if you win that? You go to the world titles. All in and I remember just going, that's where I got this grey clouds. It was like, I was sort of looking into the clouds, thinking about it, going, mate, wow, you're going into the world titles. And he said, but you'd have to be surfing in your juniors by then because there's no cadets. And I was in the cadets division. I said, I might have to surf against the juniors to get to the world title. I mean, but it was all in there. Just a fleeting moment of a dream.
Yeah.
Implanted. Like the seed. I didn't think about that for years. I didn't even think about that. But
that was, I mean, we think about surfing now. Massively commercial, huge sponsorships, endorsements. in those days, it was this sort of subculture, right?
Very
it wasn't
raw.
even recognised at high school. You know, they're talking about the cricket and
No.
footy.
No,
But
well,
when did it start to change?
well, it was on its move, on the movement in the 70s. You know, there was an idea and a vision to create a professional sport by those at the forefront. They call it the busting down the door generation, led by people like Mark Richards and Ian Cairns, Peter Townend, a bunch of Australians and a bunch of South Africans and a bunch of Californians, or people from the US. Surfers from the US got together in Hawaii, and they started to create this, you know, this vision together.
So timing was pretty good for you, right?
Yeah, because I pretty much slipstreamed them
Yeah.
into it. So I came into a perfect sort of storm, really. And but going back to that, you know, leaving school and becoming a, you know, doing whatever job I could do to kind of get a trade on the belt, which was working on cars.
Yes.
Because the first one was working on a job site, well, to become a builder, and which my dad got. I did 3 days with that, and all they did was have me wheeling barrows of bricks, and I thought it was going to start playing with wood and, you know, make things and stuff.
Yeah.
I had it completely wrong, and they were testing me to see how many bricks I could carry across a narrow plank and about a 10-foot drop either side. Like, you know, I'm tiny, this little weedy little freckly guy, and I'm going, I'd be so buggered at the end of the day. After 3 days, they paid me well, but I'm like, oh, Dad, I can't do this. This is not me. And so I said, look, I've got a friend who's a surfer from North Narrabeen. His brother owns a panel beating shop at near Powderworks Road in Narrabeen.
Yep.
And I can go and do my apprenticeship with them. They're going to give me time off to go and compete. So it's like a win-win. I could go surfing at lunchtime with them. And so I started so I did about a year and a half of panel beating, you know, $50 a week for 8.5 hours a day and 1 day of tech a week.
Yep.
So 4 hours, 4 days, 8.5 hours a day, and then and so $50, paid $10 board at home. I had $40 left over, and that would barely get me through the week.
Yep.
If I was lucky, I'd probably have nothing usually after eating, or buying a lunch, or putting myself, if I had to buy something, like, you're in that phase of 16 years of age, you're kind of trying to, you were the girls a bit, so you're trying to look good, or you're trying to buy new clothes, or trying to, impress. I had to sort of save to impress. I mean, it was a real, like, big learning curve, but it really taught me, as I went further into that, how much I wanted to make surfing work for me, or become a professional surfer, just do the thing that I really love doing.
Yep.
And there was an opportunity to possibly be supported financially.
Yep.
I was already getting some support, product-wise, surfboard-wise. I was already involved with Quicksilver, who were supporting me to some degree, and then Rip Curl, which was supporting me with wetsuits. And so that gear, all that stuff really helped at the time.
Yeah, and that relationship with Quicksilver, that's been a long one, hasn't it?
A very long-term relationship. And, becoming a professional surfer was a bit of a blur as far as whether I was, because there was always amateur or professional. There was a defining thing that we had to define about ourselves back then. Today it's non-existent.
Yeah.
So, but then we had to define ourselves as amateur surfer or a professional surfer to any sporting body. And I became professional, I think, when I was about 17. And
is that a hangover from the Olympics, or what's the deal there?
I think
virtually every sport had to make that delineation, didn't they?
Yeah, well, any athlete in any sport had to go, okay, well, I'm turning professional now.
Yes.
And for me, it was a bit blurry and incremental also. But I was competing professionally from, 15 years of age. I competed in professional events, went to Hawaii at 16 to compete in professional events. And the one event called the Pro Class Trials at Sunset Beach was my first event in Hawaii. Hawaii was our proving ground. I always knew that I was going to go to Hawaii.
What is it about Hawaii? Because you seem to have this connection. You're acknowledged as one of the greatest surfers of pipe. Won 3 times. I think even Kelly Slater sort of acknowledges you as one of the greats of pipeline. Tell me about that connection, because you've got a very sensory relationship with the ocean, but there seems to be something very special about Hawaii.
Well, first of all, there's no continental shelf. It's just mountains in the middle of the ocean. You got massive storms kind of pouring, activating off Siberia onto the Northern Pacific Ocean, and they start spinning over Japan, and it sends crazy winds across the ocean, which lifts the ocean towards Hawaii and pushes it right into Hawaii, and those swells meet the north shore of Oahu, and ever since I can remember looking at the Pictorial History of Surfing book, which was my Bible, I'd look at the photographs of these wild, longboarders, like riding these big waves on these longboards, Waimea Bay and, Sunset Beach, and pipeline on these big boards, making all sorts of disruptions on the wave just by the way they were shaped. And I just loved the visual impact they had on me, both black and white and colour photographs, and then the intermittent kind of showing of movies at Avalon Cinema that I'd beg our father, Nick and I beg our father for $1.50 to go to see on a Sunday night, when on the big screen these images of Hawaii, like pipeline, sunset, like so Waimea, most of the north shore of Oahu, implanted in me a very powerful image before I even arrived, and then through the media, just the magazines and so on, that I used to wouldn't read so much like Nick. I don't know what it is about siblings, really tight, close siblings. We tend to do opposite to what the other one's doing. I think nature sends us in the opposite direction, so we don't spread the seed into the same place. So we spread it wide. And so I wasn't given to reading only just captions and small bits and pieces of stories, but I'd visually just be taken by and study each image closely.
Tell me about that first time you went to Hawaii. That must have been, after seeing all of that, must have been pretty exciting.
Well, I'd never witnessed the ocean so violent, so close.
Yeah.
Right? And how much water was actually moving underneath me when I hit the water in the shore break just to paddle out.
Are you talking pipe or
anywhere, any of the breaks? There was always a way to get out, and the currents, everything I'd have gotten used to. I loved surfing in currents in my own home breaks, and I understood them quite well by now, but not this level of power source. The power source was direct, and it was very clear what was at play here. So, which I loved that. It sort of gave
the stakes are pretty high.
The stakes are high, so there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of like all those charging kind of emotions come up. Like this deep kind of apprehension, and all the stories already in your head that kind of come to pass in the water. Like,
did you find, Tom, that because I know this myself, having played other sports, not as much surfing because I came to surfing quite late, but playing rugby league, and you've got a very, very large Pacifica man running at you.
Yeah.
Forces you into presence.
Yeah.
Did you find that because the stakes were so high and if you mess it up, it's going to hurt, was that creating that super conscious state for you? Or
I
did
wouldn't
you
know.
not even notice, or was it something else?
Yeah.
Was it just the intensity of it?
I don't think I had any of that information in me. Like, as far as like, I couldn't put words to any of that at that point.
Neither could I then.
There's no words. I couldn't put words to it. It's just an experience. And the experience was with all that feelings of like the equipment I'm riding, the people I'm with, the ocean that it's just, and all its movements, and that I was in the middle of it, and how that made me feel.
Yeah,
You know, at a visceral level, I felt, and just the feeling of being in this mecca of surfing that had taken my attention for so long, so many years. I'd been prepared to surf it through imagery. This is a place, if I'm going to prove myself in this world of surfing, which I was big on recognition, big on proving my worth, you know.
And how old were you? 16 or 17?
16.
The first time?
Yeah, 16. And
it's pretty full on for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, and I went and stayed with these guys from Narrabeen, who were just, I mean, back then, now the kids are all really well looked after. Everyone's like, back then it was the opposite.
Yep.
Like, figure it out, kid.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, if I I was with three other guys from Narrabeen, older guys. One of my heroes, Simon Anderson, who shaped two of my boards for the trip. I had a deep respect for Simon's surfing and what he's doing and how he was doing it. He was, and then there was Al Hunt, who eventually became the tour director for the ASP. He was a very smart character who knew how to operate in the world. And then there was this rogue kind of raw character who was the head of Surfing New South Wales, and he was like or worked within Surfing New South Wales. I don't know what Greg Hodges' his name was, and Greg, those three were in this. We rented a condo together at the Kuilima Estate, which is associated with the Turtle Bay Hilton there, and we really kept to ourselves because that time in Hawaii, it wasn't advantageous to be a freckly Howley kid, and was pretty much like preyed upon in the ocean,
right, by
local crew, like trying to kick you out or wasn't a friendly place to be.
Okay,
and so. And you could see how that was going. It was actually just after the 1977 busting down a door generation. It actually made they'd had to have confrontation with the local group who had actually been mediated eventually and come together and quelled by Eddie Aikau himself in a meeting. Otherwise, there was going to be more violence. It was getting violent. And so it wasn't a friendly place to be in the water on the North Shore. And so you had to be wary about who you're with and what you're with. And as a young kid, 16 years of age, like a Howley kid, Howley means without breath, right? And that was what Hawaiians used to call Captain Cook's men, because they were so tightly bound that they were known, and they didn't have the life force of breath. They didn't look like they had breath.
Yeah, right.
So Howley means without breath.
Wow.
The life force, giving force of breath. So we were just Howleys, you know, and so it was kind of like you were kind of pegged down.
How long did that last? I mean,
it's somewhat.
If you're a great surfer, how long did it take you to earn your stripes? Where there was it might have been a begrudging.
Well, relationship had been severed. Relationship had been severed because the busting down the jaw generation had really forced themselves upon the breaks of the North Shore, and then they were getting recognition and created this sort of. And pro surfing was at its very, very little first steps. The Pipeline Masters was happening. The Duke Kanamoku event was, had a purse to it, to the winning. And then you had the Haleiwa event. It was like these events were happening on the North Shore. They were trying to make a pro circuit through California, Australia, and South Africa. And so, and there's these expressions of us coming out which were clashing with the local North Shore or the locals in that area.
Yep.
So that clash, I came in just after that clash, which was quelled by, like I said, Eddie Arkau, who was a North Shore lifeguard at the time. And Eddie was soon to pass away. And there's an event now in his recognition in memory of Eddie Arkau, the big wave event on the Waimea Bay. It's still on today. This is one of the most extraordinary events on the surfing calendar. It's by far one of the most extraordinary events to surf in. Surfed in a few of them. That's just extraordinary. But the North Shore was hostile at that time, and I felt it. But with these guys from Narrabeen, they'd if I didn't come in on time from the surf with them, they'd leave me out there, and I'd have to try and find my way back. Or if I didn't come out of the supermarket, which was only many miles away.
Yep.
They've got, back then there was just one supermarket on the North Shore in Haleiwa. If I didn't come out on time out of there, they'd leave me there. It was just one of those things that kids were like, figure it out, kid. Wake up to yourself.
You're still here?
Yeah.
You survived?
Yeah, and I survived that. It was pretty amazing, yeah. And I think, the North Shore was trial by fire, and I didn't mind getting myself involved in some wild ocean. It never really scared me to the point that I was petrified, because I recognised two different types of fear. One of them's all-encompassing self-protection, which don't come near me. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. Fear that just stops completely, creates this sort of inertia, or even inertia or movement away from the situation.
Yep.
Or there's the fear that engages us, chemically charges us and engages us into confronting and going into it, right?
Yeah.
And you could call it courage, but it's fear generated, because we tend to just sort of go through that fear into the action. And the action could be anything.
Yep.
But for me, with the ocean, I felt like I could take my skill and push through those fears.
Yeah.
And sort of I didn't have that. There's been a few moments where I've pulled myself out, for sure.
Yep.
And I've gotten better at doing that since I've kind of moving. I'm 63, so I've got to be very wary about how I approach things now.
Scar tissue.
A lot of scar tissue.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Well, it must have worked, because you won pipe 3 times.
You're
2-time world champ.
Yeah.
Tell me about that first win at pipe, because that was pretty emotional.
Yeah. So Pipeline, it's kind of like the best. It's like it's the pinnacle event to win on the North Shore. Sunset Beach was also really important for me to win. But I'd already won that event, and I knew that the next one, I'm going to be a Pipeline Master at some point. I knew at some level I'll win at some point. And that's a knowing. It's not sort of like a belief. I was sort of knew something like that was going to come about. I didn't know when. But it was the winter of 1987. I was 26, turning 26. I just turned 26. And I was there as my girlfriend, who was my wife-to-be, was there, and we'd been on the North Shore for 5 weeks or something. It had been raining for the most part, and kind of crap surf. And I'd surfed in a preliminary round of the Pipeline Masters, and then there's a finals day. Preliminary round, then finals day. And and I'd gotten through that preliminary round, very marginal surf. It wasn't pipeline, what we know as pipeline to be. And I was thankful for that, because I wasn't made for that kind of, I wasn't expecting that. And I got myself through, but I was starting to use, it was my first year I was bringing the helmet into play. I'd already had some experiences at Pipeline. I've got myself a second place at the Pipeline Masters. I'd already been in the finals when I was 18. So I had some good experience at Pipeline.
So iconic Tom Carroll with the helmet.
Yeah. So no one was using Pipeline helmets at Pipeline. And it was, I really wanted to charge. I didn't want to have any apprehension, because I know that apprehension in those situations is worse than the actual fear. Like, apprehension's the worst. You doubt yourself, and then you pull back at the wrong time, and you get really hurt. I thought, I don't want to have any doubt in what I'm doing, and putting a helmet on was important, because I'd witnessed a really nice, one of the most frothy surfers I'd met, on the most frothy, enthusiastic surfers, who actually met with joy and enthusiasm in the water, which was a fresh thing for me to meet on the North Shore each year. His name was Beaver Massafella. He was from Texas originally, but he came over, and Beaver Massafella was a lovely guy to surf with. He had a really nice, vibrant disposition in the water, and unlike a lot of people at that time, they had stink eye, just assertive stink eye, on everyone. I was going, this is not what surfing's, I started surfing anyway. And I was like, but Beaver was really, and in 1984, he had an injury during the Pipeline Masters where he hit his head, got knocked out, got saved, revived, and got medevaced out. And I'd heard about it, and I got down to the beach, and he'd gone. I didn't, and I remember hearing about it. I didn't make it through the early rounds of that Pipeline Masters as I expected myself to be. But I remember being, wow, Beaver got real, and there's reports of him, being opened up in the back of the head and stuff like that. I thought, wow, head injury at Pipe, it's brutal. And then, back then, we didn't have social media, didn't know what happened to him, we didn't get any reports. And I returned back to Hawaii the next winter, in 1985, and I remember, never forget this moment. I was walking down the beach at sunset. Just turned off the beach car park. Sunset's pumping, it's a beautiful day, big, solid sunset. And you could see in the lineup, there's this one person with an bright orange helmet. And I'm going, who's the dick with a helmet on? Because no one wears a helmet. It was like, you got to be a dick to wear a helmet. Really. In surfing, we just surf for the full experience, sensational experience of surfing, non-dulled. We go for full. You need to, feel and hear and all that smell. The whole thing is a sensory experience. So I didn't want to dull that down with a helmet. And if you got one on, it looks dumb anyway. So there's a whole bunch of layers of sort of resistance to the helmet. And anyhow, I thought, and then someone said, no, Tom, that's Beaver. I go, whoa, that's Beaver. He's back. Awesome. And they said, no, but I'll never forget this person. I can't remember who it was, but he said, I'll never forget them saying, it's not Beaver though now. I go, what? He goes, yeah, he's changed. I go, wow. And I was super interested in paddling out and seeing him because we'd always had good interaction. And when I got to see him out there in this big sunset with his orange helmet on, I went up to see Beaver, and he was a different person. He was kind of had a slurry speech, and he wasn't the vibrant person that I knew. And I've gone far out. Like, pipelines got consequences that change you deeply. And I thought, and it took me 3 years to get the helmet on. I went through a number of pipeline masters without the helmet. And then, anyway, this year, 1987, we're staying at a place called Keikihale, which is right on the beach, a part of the beach at Pipeline, but you can't see Pipeline for it, towards Waimea Bay. Has a massive shore break. And but all that winter leading up to, like I said, it had been raining. It was raining, and it was really, it's just such not a nice place when you get locked in a weather pattern there. It's not very pleasant, and the surf wasn't very nice. So it's sort of a bit of a low feeling about the whole place. And then they had the last day coming up for the waiting period. They had to run the Pipeline Masters the next day. And that afternoon, I remember going, I've got to get ready to surf crap waves. But we didn't have all this surf forecasting stuff that we have now. We just didn't know what was coming. We just didn't know. And so whatever we woke up with, that was there. And whatever was there, we surfed. We had some weird ideas about things we didn't know, could never confirm, was always rumour. And so anyhow, my brother gets a hold of me somehow, and I have to call him back on the phone, and Nick says, you got to sit down. I've got some bad, some very sad news. And I said, okay. As I sat, and he goes, oh, we've just lost our sister. And in a car accident. She had a car accident on the way back from Canberra, and the details alerted me because I became super angry, like an anger that I'd never felt before. Came up very, very angry, and I was like, my wife to be was looking at me going, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that, because I was really angry, like this anger surfaced that I'd never experienced in myself. And I go, fuck, I was just so angry. And I said, oh, okay, I'm going to call Dad, I'm coming home. So I rang up our father, and Dad said, no, don't come home, Tom. I think, if anything, Joe would love you to win the Pipeline Masters, And I went, okay, all right, I'll stay here and I'll surf the Pipeline Masters. Anyway, I woke up the next morning, and it was clear blue sky, like the first clear blue sky of the trip. Perfect day. And the ocean was sheet glass, like the ocean was glassy, and there's this fresh new northwest swell in the ocean, brand spanking, like brand spanking new swell. Beautiful, just exactly what Pipeline needs. And before it got really light, I was up looking at it going, oh my God, what the fuck? And I'm trying to piece together all this news and everything and what's about to come today. And I, got the final, and Joe's gone. I'm still kind of anger lingering in me that I can't work out. And
this is only hours after you got the news.
Yeah, I woke up that next morning and it's clear blue sky. Just crisp new day. And a friend of mine, Doug Silver, was staying with us. And I said, let's go surf pipe, Doug. And I grabbed my helmet and let's go and walk down this morning because I don't want to drive down there. And so we walked fair way, walking down, and then I'd never done this, and paddled out because there was not much swell. It was all pouring into pipeline, the west swell. And I paddled out at a place called Rock Pile because it was super long period swell. There was big lulls, so we jumped out. There was no waves interrupting our paddle out, and we paddled in behind pipeline. Never done that before. And pipeline was heaving, like it was just this big slab kind of hitting first reef, wasn't breaking on the second reef where it would normally be at this size, 10 to somewhat bigger feet, and so 3 to 4 metre swell in the west. And and that morning there was this surfer by the name of Johnny Boy Gomes. Johnny Boy Gomes was a very unpredictable human at best at that time. He's from the west side, had a gnarly upbringing, but he was a brilliant surfer at pipe. He'd made it in through to that that final day, so he's in the final day. But he was really heavily built, and he wanted to dominate every situation with violence or some sort of domination of intimidation. And I had this helmet on, but I felt my helmet. I'm starting to really understand how to surf with the helmet on. I tried it a bit, but I was really going for it and feeling myself in that zone. Got a couple of bombs. I'm feeling good. Anyway, this is just, the competition's just starting to, wake up. People are just sort of filtering out to practice. Probably about a dozen surfers in the competition area. And Johnny Boy Gomes paddles out. And he had no hesitation because he could see me getting really good waves. He wanted to sort of create some sort of damage to me for sure, because he could see me. One way to kind of fast track is, just eliminate some sort of competition, I guess. But I went to paddle for a wave, and he paddled around behind me and grabbed my leg rope and pulled it just as I went for the takeoff. And I couldn't get to my feet. I got flung over the falls on this 10-foot top to bottom slab pipe, and I got dragged along the reef and looked pretty. But that anger that I felt, like that anger, it just came all the way back to me, and I gone, fucking, how dare he do this to me? Like, how dare he do to anyone? Like, I'd had enough. So I would never do this normally. Like, I'm just not that kind of person. But I thought, I'm going to have to be crazier than him to intimidate him and tell him to fuck off. Basically, don't ever do that ever to me ever again and to anyone else. So I paddled hard and fast up to him, like in front of everyone. Like, they're going, oh my God, Tom's like, what's he doing? Like, it's not what I'd normally do. But I went straight to him and I said, never. And I right in his face, like crazy eyes, like as crazy as I could get, pulling it out of myself. Never fucking ever do that. And he I'd never seen him. He just actually backed away because I gave him more crazy than what he was. I went, wow, that worked. I was like, wow, that's kind of wild. That actually worked. And I don't know whether it's that interaction, but there was a lot of other, a lot of stuff just wasn't even on my radar that was normally on my radar in competition. Worried about this person, that person, this thing and that thing. It just went silent. And I thought, I'm giving this to my sister today. And from that point, pretty much that, from my first heat to the final where I got up on the podium to claim the first place, there was nothing in the way. It just seemed every decision I made was the right decision. It all kind of moved
for you. Sounds
towards me.
Yeah, that concept of flow.
Yeah, we can point. I think flow is a good word to point, because words are really used to point as pointers to something that's beyond words. Like,
it's like a distraction, just start to just...
I wouldn't say it's a distraction. It's sort of like flow helps us point to something that appears to be in sync. It's a sort of the synchronicity. You know, it's more of we become in sync with something, an energy that's available to us at all times. We sort of sink into it, and literally sink into it, like, and sort of become it, rather than become apart from it. We join in with something that's much greater than us, and when I had a lot of skill on board, so it came along. The skill was enabling it, so all that stuff was on board. But I'm in this competition. I've built a kind of a bigger purpose, unbeknownst to myself. I didn't recognise it as that at the time, but I built a bigger purpose for my sister. I want to recognise my sister as this thing, and at the time she was present in every kind of decision I was making that day, and then as if there was no decision to make, it was all obvious to do what I was doing. It was just became very obvious. So there was no question, no doubt, and you know, the guys I'd be in a heat with 3 other surfers, and it'd appear like a set would be coming this direction. They'd all paddle that way, and something would say, "Go that way, Tom." And I'd go the other way. It's sensory, and all of a sudden the set I'd paddle over, and the next wave would be actually over towards me. So these sort of things were sort of playing out all day, and
later, you know, later in life, Tom, you've discovered meditation, and you know, when you're deep in that process, there's almost an element of surrender, and things just come. Well,
that's the practice, really, is to allow something that's always been there, to reveal itself. And we literally, the practice is to set aside that which is in the way of that. Now, again, surrender is a word that points to something that's actually not attainable by saying, "Oh, I'll surrender." You know, every time, even if I say, "I'll surrender," there's something in me going, "Nah." You know? So there's pushing back, because we've got both the things at the same time. So when I'm out of the way with the words, both from an intellectual point of view and from even a practical point of view. Even a practical point of view is just a pointer to what is going on here. And so that state of what we call flow is you've already surrendered to the flow, like the flow. So surrender itself, it's best not even mentioning, because there's a reactive sensory experience to it, even though it sounds like a nice thing to do.
Yes.
I like the idea of surrender, and we know what actually happens in surrender. We actually all experienced it sometime, and at some point where we've actually, okay, I surrendered to the dentist going to work on my teeth that's got a big hole in it, right? And it's going to fucking hurt, right? So, but after all, he's fixed, the dentist's done his work, and now my teeth are okay to use again, and I'm not going to deteriorate.
Yes.
So I don't know where that came from either, but some form of, at times, but if we can become practice within ourselves at a deeper level that allows that state of awareness, if you like, of being, to become more prominent in our doing, then there's a space that's open. You know, surrender creates space.
Yep.
And that's been my experience. And we talk about healing and there's, you know, Mojo well-being, that people are always trying to heal themselves. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to heal myself. We can't heal ourselves. It's not like that. It's actually, it's like we have to get ourselves out of the way so healing can take place. It's like if I get a cut in my arm here, it's the same as this, any wounding. Like, I've got a big laceration here, and I go to the doctor, I go to someone who knows how to sew me up.
Yes.
So we close the cut up.
Yep.
But that's only a part of it. And then we've got to wash it and clean it. First of all, clean whatever gunk's in it. And then we go into the intricate nature of tissue sewing, the tissue together so it stays clean, the interior stays clean. But it never heals directly. It always heals from bottom up. And it takes a while. So we've got to sit by and actually wait. We have to step away from my preference to do sport, surf. The amount of times I've had to surrender my preference to surf under the kind of the restriction of injury.
Yeah,
I call it a restriction because I've had so much freedom in surfing, and then I've got to surrender my preference, and then allow the healing to start to take place. And quite often, that might mean all kinds of different things. That it's again another surrender of my preference to do something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and it's actually a beautiful segue because when we were chatting prior to kicking off, Tom, and having a coffee the other day at Buccacino, I said that during this yarn, I didn't want to spend as much time on the pro surfing, but the thing that for me personally, that makes you stand out is the story of courage and redemption and recovery. And it must be, I have not experienced this because I'm not a professional athlete, but that time that you retire and that transition, that must be tough because you go from being idolised and then maybe the phone doesn't ring as much. And you went through a really tough period, and which culminated in some time at South Pacific Private at Carroll. And I met you there.
Yeah.
Because I was in recovery myself from trauma and PTSD, and you go there as an act of service to do guided meditation for up to 50 or 60 people at SPP, and I sat next to you actually in one of the meditations, and I
remember that.
Your presence really struck me, and I said hi, and you looked me in the eye, and it was like you were fully in the blue, 100% present, 100% conscious. But that description of the injury and how it heals and it takes time, I mean, your recovery was something that must have been extremely challenging. Can you tell me about that time where you finally said, enough, I need help, and you had the courage to go and hang out at SPP for 5 weeks? I think there was construction going on at the time, and you sort of have to, we were saying earlier prior to filming, that sometimes you have to break down to break through. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition in your life?
Well, it's massive. It's so multi-layered. I'd become addicted to methamphetamine, which for me served a great purpose in me being able to feel like I could cope with situations around me at the time. But I'd already had a long, history of drug addiction from, my first real experience with obviously needing help, receiving it, but not really understanding what that really meant, because the addict was quite strong in me. The entity of the addict is so strong and particularly tied to egoic kind of expression, egocentricity, which sort of is developed in notoriety and competition and going for recognition and and you get the recognition, and you said this. I have this big wild ride. It's never a sort of nice, easy. Not easy. It's never a nice, smooth movement. That in competition is always a big wild ride of emotional, and if you don't have the support network, you kind of try and do it all your own. It's exactly what I was doing. So when we're trying to do this whole journey on our own, and there's no relationship both with myself deeply and others, where I can actually sort of do it and actually grow emotionally through it, it tends to be a very kind of almost like semi-conscious state we're going through it. And so even though I'm trying to pull this whole world off, I was about to get married. I was, my wife to be had already experienced me trying to escape in, noticed that I liked to kind of escape in drugs. And my drug of choice at that time was cocaine. I really liked the feeling of being above the line. And I didn't really like alcohol, which pulled me down below the line. So if there's a line of being normal, which I don't know whether there's ever such a thing as normal, but a kind of a regulated line where I can live in comfort within my skin, right? A emotionally regulated line where I can live with my emotions, come back to. I was always felt like I was a little bit below the line, more sort of bit darker by nature. Even though I was lifting myself up, trying to be really kind of vibrant, and surfing actually helped me.
That surprises me because your energy is like
it's
infectious enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's naturally me, and I like that.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me which I didn't want to recognise.
Yeah, right.
I didn't want to go there. That's that losing my mum.
Yeah.
That's that stuff I didn't want to touch. I didn't want to go into it. I didn't want to recognise it. Then I lost my sister. Didn't want to recognise it. So I'd reach for something to kind of settle and to escape that, which was trying to come up to be recognised. It's trying to come up and be recognised. Recognise me. Give this recognition, Tom. Give this recognition. No, I want to go the other way. So once I knew that I could have something and I touched something that changed the way I felt to bring me above the line and away from that, it gave me relief from that tension. So I got relief from the emotional content of loss, the emotional pain I didn't want to touch. It was too much to see. And so I'll go the other way. And you naturally want to do this. It's, and so you try to, that's the salve, that's the medicine, I go for the medicine that sort of takes care of me on this instant moment. That feels much better. Now I can do life somehow, or I just get that moment where I can just escape to, gets me up above the line. I can sort of sense myself in this other kind of dreamlike state, but I don't want to be in reality anymore. And that reality of myself here, it wasn't enough, just all of a sudden it gets mixed up. And then I become unstable. You become unstable and unrecognisable, and to your normal state, which is I'm vibrant, I'm love life, I'm, my natural state is to engage and be sociable, and I like people and that and so on, and whereas that part of me was going away from that. And
what was the tipping point, Tom? What?
After many years of the roller coaster of escaping, coming back, escaping, coming back, going to kind of dangerous places within myself, darker places, which took me to darker places, and losing the relationship with my wife, my wife at the time, kind of like losing relationship that I didn't know I was trying to destroy and sabotage, sabotage life, sabotage that life lifeblood of love was being sabotaged. And even though I had all the beautiful things in front of me that told me otherwise, I was trying to block it out. And I didn't know why. I was baffled. I was totally baffled as why do I keep going back here? I don't really want to do this. It's not my true nature, but I've got to go there. And it becomes so enticing. And such is the powerful, baffling, cunning nature of the entity of the addict inside us, which we all have. No one escapes from that need to, or that attachment to something that's not particularly healthy for us. We get attached to something that kind of we escape. We always want to transcend ourselves anyway, I think. And there's a part of us that requires a transcendent experience.
Yep.
So when we find that in drugs, it's a spiritual journey in itself. It's a spiritual journey, and in society it's frowned upon and looked down upon. That person. It doesn't make sense because we're killing ourselves. Basically, we're toxifying our system. We're becoming deleterious to our whole physical, mental, spiritual nature. We're doing all this stuff, and everyone from the outside looking along, and they're just going, "Are you insane?" And yes, of course, it's insane. But at the time, it seemed more logical for me, my logic completely out the window, that just give me a little box on the side of the road. There's a great Monty Python skit where they're talking about, I live in a box. There's two people like boasting about how bad they've had it.
Yeah, right.
I live in a box on the side of the road. Or you even got another Monty Python skit where you got the guy chopping his arms off.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you got the blood spurting in it. Yeah. Come on. That's an addict. Fully think they're fine. And, it's funny. The addict thinks it's okay when it's fucked. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But then... And then thinks it's fucked when they're okay. So they're two very tricky space to be in. So even when we're not using, this can become apparent. And hence it's an ongoing... But I fell apart, which needed to happen in 2006 because I kind of really... I had the breakdown, and we need to break down. We need to be... That can't be maintained for that long. Like it's maintenance at that level. They're trying to remain relative to life. Nature just goes, nature's got that whole thing going. It's got a creation, maintenance and destruction, those laws going on, creation, maintenance and destruction. I maintained it. It was no longer became relevant. I had to destruct. I was already on the destruction path. And I didn't actually make that decision. It wasn't really me. It was a whole lot of other factors.
Yep. Ultimately, though, Tom, you got to sign up, right? You got to leave that place.
Yeah. Not really. In my experience at that time, I needed a whole lot of people around me who loved me to kind of point me in the right direction, because on my own I couldn't.
Yeah, almost like an intervention.
It was an intervention of sorts, but it was on the cards. Because my best thinking was to keep using. I got myself locked into a marriage and a relationship with a drug that was becoming more and more deleterious to the system.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of love around me that cared for me, that I'd lost recognition for, that they would just, there was so much, they no longer could enable me anymore.
Yep.
And I remember that look in my wife's face the wife, that, you know, Lisa's face and looking, and her, just the pain in her eyes. And I'll never forget her saying, "You're going to have to go to church or something." And I went, "Oh, fuck." Because I was definitely an anti-religion guy.
Yes.
I'd sort of, all I'd do and become hypersensitive as a result of taking methamphetamine, but all the other drugs. I was so sensitive to the world and frightened, full of fear, and all I saw was just religion, you know, attacking each other. You know, my God against that God, and then my God says that your God's no good. And I just couldn't. It didn't make sense to me. And so, but some truth, because I've been in this experience of complete powerlessness. I knew I was powerless, and that I couldn't stop on my own. And I needed a group, because I'd used individual therapists, people to help me, and special people, because I was a very special person.
Yes.
That I was unique and I was very special, so I needed very unique and special people to help me.
Yes.
And that I could manipulate that.
Yes.
Because the addict, once prominent in our being, will manipulate.
I'm seeing the best psychiatrist.
I'm seeing, and you could spin the story, and the story would wash, you know, and I'd walk out going, well, I got people off my back. So I'm seeing that, now I can go to work with the addict, and the addict's got control. And so, and at the bottom of it all, like I said, that word just then, control. And so I lost my ability to have any power at all. And it was in that moment when I saw that pain in her eyes that I'd seen so many times, that now it was really, really like stark relief, because I realised, and now I'm being revealed once again, my shame was overwhelming. And that was telling me that to pay attention to what my beautiful ex-wife was saying. She was saying, "You'll need to go to church or something." And something rang true. That I needed, this is a spiritual thing. This is a journey I have to go on in order to address it.
Little would you know that you'd be in fellowship, 12-step, which is not unlike church, is it?
Well, it's very much a place where those who have had an experience with themselves, it's not like an intellectual idea of, I'm seeking God through religion. I've met the God of my understanding directly. I've met an experience with the God of my understanding here that's supporting me. I have no idea what it really is materially. I can't sort of pin it down on the table here with my thumb. I can't even mark it off. There's a whole bunch of words, like I was talking about before, pointing at it. But it's a source that I can turn to and ask for guidance. I had no idea that was what I was going to run into in the 12-step fellowships. And those people that had already gone through this before me, who are very clearly in contact with this source of power. Now, the addict is so broad-minded in its entity. It's so broad-minded, it'll create anything out of anything at any point at any time to get its power back. So you better tap into a power that's greater than it.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
It can be dark, but that said, the addict itself actually works for us at some point. So we're there for some reason. But then all of a sudden it starts working against us. In that point where it starts working against us, the addict is self-serving, self-preserving, deleterious. It's all these things, but without recognition of it being that broad-minded in its ability to express itself. That it's very creative. Some addicts that I know, have been some of the most creative, intelligent, smart, brilliant people I've ever met in my life. So the fact that we think that addicts are bad is for sure a very profoundly misunderstood judgment.
Yeah, I one of the things that I appreciated in my time at SBP was the education. Then and later I looked a lot at the work of Gabor Mate.
Yeah, beautiful.
And his description of addiction is doing something that's harmful that you can't stop. And he said, well then by definition 90% of the world is addicted if you take into account screens and shopping. And then the second thing he said really blew my mind. He said, what sits below all addiction is pain and trauma. And at that point, I had so much more humility and compassion for homeless people.
Yeah.
Because I could see them and think,
But
they've probably gone through some horrendous trauma.
But for the grace of God, there go I. Those words in that prayer ring really true for me. Like, and if we can't see that shadow side of ourselves, that our within us, there is that within us, then it can start to rule our life in such a way that whatever's inside us that's undealt with starts to spit out on those around us. And so if we're not giving that place recognition on a daily basis, not sort of living in it, it's not to be lived in, it's just giving recognition to, noticing and become
loving,
and actually turn back and be compassionate to that little boy that had to experience what he didn't need to experience, but he did. You know, he can't unsee what he just saw, and and that's all. It's just sending compassion. It's just giving love back to that space. But then also knowing that within the shadow, within all of us, the shadow remains a part of our whole being. Yeah, it's not like when we're addicted, all we are is spitting out outwardly that which is unrecognized, and so it's a very unconscious behavior. So we start going towards it to try to kind of fix it in all these funny ways, but fixing it with all the wrong things, and we tend to be spitting out all that pain out into the world, trying to kind of unload it. And so that darkness really starts to become apparent. Yep. And relationship with another human being becomes non-existent. So relationship itself is, and I think Gabor Mate is talking a lot about relationship and how we relate to the world around us, and the interior relationship first. Yeah.
There's all that work around the inner child and the wounding. So around that time, Tom, I think, was that around the time that you were introduced to meditation?
That's it, yeah. That was my initiation into sitting still with myself.
Tell me about your first couple of cracks at meditation.
Well, I couldn't sit with myself if I tried. I mean, that's the one thing about the addict, it cannot sit with itself. Yeah. The addict can never sit with itself or be alone at the same time. So it gets itself really, really busy with doing if it's not untreated, and I couldn't sit with myself. I was always trying to escape myself and my reality, like outside, not attending, not being able to be present and actually have a conversation. So it was very tricky for my daughters to probably have a dad like that for a while. So there's probably a hole in their growing up that they didn't quite have me there, and I'm guaranteed that's the case, having a drug addicted father or parent. that well, you're not a parent. So, but so I remember. Well, I got before I came to SBP. There was, which was December 18. It was late August that I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. The first time I'd actually gone into a meeting was in my hometown in Newport. I was very frightened because I was who I was, public figure, and I was this thing out there, but inside me I was just in turmoil, and and my ex-wife had revealed me for what I was, and then she said that introduced me to someone who's actually in Narcotics Anonymous, who'd been in. I'd known him for quite a long time. I'd known him for a long time. I didn't know he was in. I didn't know this 12-step fellowship was about. He took me to my first meeting. God bless you, Muzz, who was my first sponsor. And I sat in the meeting, and all of a sudden I noticed through the noise in my head that I could hear someone speaking. I could hear someone speaking for the first time to some degree. I wouldn't say my head was ready for it at all. I was just fearful. A lot of noise in the head.
You mean inner voice, Tom? Or
all the inner voices, the multitude of inner voices, and all the thoughts that I had were very loud, and they took up a lot of space even when I was trying to talk to you. Hence I was trying to escape all the time, and my own conversations would take me to other places. So they hadn't become audible through my voice yet, so you can see some people walking around the street talking to themselves and stuff, but I could see that was probably down the track, not too far. That person walking around in the park screaming out, all this audible stuff that didn't make any sense to anyone else. And that was where my head was. And so that's what this drug does. But anything that wobbles the nervous system out, whether it be uppers, downers, or sideways, whatever it is, will start to agitate the system to that level. And thoughts become very loud, even to us who aren't affected. The thoughts under stress become very loud. Yeah. But I was under a lot of stress, and I remember, there was more I did meetings, even though I couldn't stay clean. I tried to spin the story that I was clean because the addict's always trying to survive. And I was meeting people that had stayed clean for a long time, 20 years, and I thought they were bullshitting. Like, I couldn't trust anyone, let alone myself. And I would go, oh, this guy says he's 21 years clean, and what a load of shit. But something was undeniable.
How long are you clean now, Tom?
In about a month, I'll be 19.
Cool. Sorry.
Yeah. That's if I make a month.
Yeah.
It's one day at a time, man.
Keep going to meetings.
Yeah. Keep going to meetings, Tom, please. Excuse me. Anyhow, what I noticed in one person, that he was able to meet me, and we go for coffee after the meeting. We'll have something to eat, and it was a Sunday meeting here in Avalon, 11 a.m. I'll never forget it. This person by the name of Mark P would come along, and he'd talk with me, and he could I could sense he could listen, he could hear me when I was talking. It was nothing like being heard. When someone's being heard, then you're in a relationship. When we can hear someone and really hear them without the conversations in the back of the head, really hear what they're saying and sort of respond. And the response is with clarity, and they're almost repeating what you've just said to you, what you've just said, and they'll repeat it, and then they'll give you feedback, and the feedback's super genuine, and it was come from this place. I thought, I want what that guy's got, because I want that, but I couldn't. I was a long way from it.
This is the experience I had when I met you at SBP.
Yes. So that was the gift he gave me, and started talking about. I said, "So what do you do?" And eventually he said, "Oh, I meditate regularly on a daily basis," and he gave me a like a share tape, a disc. He gave me a disc that had a share from one of an older, cleaner member of the Narcotics Anonymous groups in the US, and his name was Tom C. It said Tom C on the disc. I said, "Oh, well, that's meant to be, you know, the woo woo, you know." And so I listened to his story, and he was big on meditation. Tom Catton. Tom Catton, his name was. He's now passed, but he was at that time. I think he was like 30 years clean or something. Yeah, right. And so I had to take notice of this because I couldn't stay clean for a week.
Yes.
I was doing meetings. I was trying to spin the story, and you know, it's so obvious that I was using, or you know, like, and you can't. But people welcome you into meetings, you know, even if you're high, and it's really, and they'll help you. They're offering you help, and sometimes it's like, what do you want to help me for? Like, it was hard. Yeah, and I could sense that there was love and compassion in the room, and that's why I kept going back, because I could see something happening in these people's lives that I wanted at some level in my life, because I just wanted to stop. Even the first time I went to see someone professionally in 1991, I wanted to stop this crazy behaviour. It didn't make any sense to me. I wanted to stop it. I wanted to be clean. I just wanted to have a year with nothing. I wanted to see if I could do a whole year. I remember for the fact in 1991 I was seeing this psychologist, this psychotherapist, and I went to see him 3 times. It was up in the toaster above Circular Quay, because I was special person seeing a special person. And then my sister-in-law, after my 3rd visit to him, said, "Oh, is this the person you're seeing?" Because I remember sharing it with my brother and that. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, in the paper here this morning, it's got him being reported to being struck off the register for shooting pethidine, using intravenous pethidine." I've gone, "What?"
I saw that in the book.
Yeah, and that like, I was off and running then. I've gone, "Wow, that gives me I'm going off now." Like, the addict just goes, "Yoo-hoo!" Yeah, so, but that was 16 years prior to going to, so the seed, you know, however it gets planted, now it was coming in hot into the system, and then it was, you know, I still couldn't stay clean. Then my sponsor, Muzz, said, "You're going to have to go to treatment to get some distance from the substances properly." Yep. And that's where I ended up in South Pacific.
And was it 5 weeks you'll stay?
It's a 5-week program back then, but my therapist said, "I think you should just stay in for 1 more week, Tom." Right. And I said, "Okay," because I was scared of coming out. Yeah. You know, I didn't trust myself yet. Yeah. You know, and the trust is the most important. You know, trust. I don't know what you call it. Like, it's an energy source. Trust. It's the most important thing we have on this planet. Yes. Is trust. Yeah. And trust, if we don't have trust, things really become deleterious for us humans. You know, life becomes very sketchy. Life force becomes very sketchy. Greed becomes more apparent. Less trust, more greed. And so then more greed comes in, that really becomes deleterious. And so trust itself, I couldn't trust myself. And then when I fell into South Pacific, I kind of was guided in there. I like I said, I didn't make the decision on my own. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to do it." I said, something in me knew that I had to do it, but I was in the way all the time. And then I was guided to it, and I thought, and I remember booking in for it, doing the admission, and during the admission, with this lady who became my therapist after it, post treatment, Lisa Chapman is a brilliant therapist. She she admitted me. She admission officer at the time. I just completely and utterly broke down in that admission into, just you have a meeting and they go through a bunch of questions and they see where you're at. And I just bawled my eyes out and I'm going, my God, that this is where I'm meant to be. Because I'm finally crying. I finally stripped myself.
Yep.
I didn't strip myself. It actually revealed itself really clearly that what I needed to go through in order to start to address this this entity that was just an illusory sense of self.
Fully broken.
Yeah, and because we're not allowed to be fully broken out here in our cultures.
No.
It's a sort of, you've got to be something, you've got to achieve something, and you better freaking do it now, otherwise you're nothing, and if you're nothing, you're discarded. And if you break down in that process, well, then you're no good to us. So go to the back of the line. And so go and figure yourself out in that broken state. And you kind of somewhat discarded. And even in our culture, the elderly, the ones who have experience, the ones who have the knowledge and all the experience built up in their life are discarded into old person's homes. And so we're kind of missing the point in so many ways in our culture that we need that which is being discarded. And then we worship the youth as if they have the answer. In fact, it's the other way around. Yeah. So anyway, it's a whole nother subject, but I found that over the time, I needed the wisdom of my father. I needed the wisdom of my elders to sort of help me move into recovery. And it was the South Pacific was where the meditation started to come into the field of my awareness.
So maybe that first crack could last 5 seconds, then 10, then a minute.
Yeah.
And I remember one of your guided meditations, Tom, and I remember my head was saying, fucking hell, there's not much guidance in here. Went all quiet, and then all of a sudden I dropped in. Yeah. And time just didn't exist. And then you rung that, you do your chime after 10 minutes. Yeah. And that could have been 10 seconds or 10 years. It was unbelievable. And the peace that comes with that.
Yeah, and amazing things start to happen within our systems at that level. Like we start to become more coherent at a very, very, at the most minute cellular level. Each cell becomes more coherent. And so the being becomes more coherent. We become more coherent at the core of our being. And then we become, our outer experience becomes more coherent. And so then we can start to see ourselves, see reality. We're really good at escaping reality. And so we like that. And we like to jump out of reality and then we can come back in. If we're aware that we jump in and out of reality on a regular basis, then coming back to it in a very real conscious state, even when it seems like we go beyond ourselves in that transcendent state in meditation, where it becomes really beneficial for our being, and then all of a sudden it's a timelessness. There's no such thing as time or space. Cool. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we kind of love that. At some level, it's so charming to the mind. It's so charming, and they call it the bliss state.
I was going to say it's bliss.
But it's not like we're having an ice cream or our favourite chocolate, or we're having, because you need more of that shit
Not a sugar hit, is it?
It's not a sugar hit. It's not a screen hit. You know, the screen is now our greatest addiction, and so on a mass level, it's our greatest addiction. But you know, hold that word addiction lightly. Because it's one of those things that can be applied to so many areas, but addiction itself at the deleterious level is life threatening at every level. And so we're going to go in meditation, we're actually going the opposite way. We're actually in a place where it's least likely understood by the intellect, where we're, you know, intellect is always trying to make meaning of everything and pointing with words at things, but you can never really kind of actually do it. You can't do it with the intellect. The intellect's and the intellect's a wonderful thing. Look what it does. It does this incredible thing and creates amazing works of art. And but art comes from, or creation comes from beyond the intellect.
Comes from the source.
The source. And so this is, you know, I committed to recovery after that stay in only through a lot of help from the Narcotics Anonymous. I didn't know whether I was going to stay clean and stay off drugs. I was I was super vulnerable.
Yeah, having a posse is pretty important, isn't it?
You nailed it. We need a posse.
So, 1 month off 19 years?
Yeah.
And this dude taught you meditation, and now you're a meditation teacher, Tom.
Yeah, that journey,
cool.
It's been a journey of constant. So then when we're in that state, we're actually doing a very highly a practice that urges us to evolve. It's actually asking in that space where we're creating space in meditation, we're actually creating a space for us to evolve. Yep. And addiction is going the other way, and so is drawing us into is away from any sort of evolutionary sort of movement. So once we sort of ask to evolve, we start to go to places which they're uncomfortable. You know, we wouldn't normally go there. So things come up that sort of tell us to go in certain directions. We're starting to listen to a voice within us that's saying, our conscience is saying, we go this way. You know, this is a better way for you to go. No, logic says to go this way. You know. You know, I think I can't recognise that, and you might resist. Put resistance into the picture and resist the voices, or resist that need to change. And I definitely have been a candidate for that. But the meditation, and if we keep turning up for practices that point us in that evolutionary sort of phase, towards doing practices, taking care of ourselves, good nutrition, good hydration, good exercise, good sleep pattern, just taking good care of this thing we call body. It's material. This thing, you know, we start taking care of this, and things start to sort of move us towards that sort of charming part of that part of that charm.
It creates energy, doesn't it? I was chatting to a lady at yoga the other day, and she said, "Yeah, I stopped drinking 3 years ago." And I said, "When did you start doing yoga?" She said, 3 years ago.
Yoga, and yoga itself is, you know, comes from, you know, the union. You know, yoga meaning union with the individual with the infinite. You know, that's the union of the individual. It's not latte and lycra and mirrors and you know, bending your body like that other person. No, it's actually a series of practices that actually connect that with the source. And so, like surfing in a yogic form, it's a kind of a yoga in itself, or you could do anything in yoga, if you like. Anything done with yogic kind of sensibilities,
Very complimentary, because yoga's great for your surfing as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's all, moving the body and creating and allowing body intelligence to fire up, like you said, energy, because it's all energy. But we're allowing an energy to be recognised and to be, malefic forces are energy forces as well. The sort of setting boundaries between what's kind of good for me and not's, keeping those forces which are deleterious, sources of energy, which kind of sometimes quite attractive. Attractive. Or a person comes in that they've got if you're very porous, because we are porous by nature, we're porous, we'll kind of let in energy that is not particularly good for us, and we don't even know it. And so this happens at all levels of society, culture, but from a body sort of taking care of itself and all of a sudden coming into a self-care environment, coming into recovery, we start to sort of see boundary. What boundary, and that's what they talk about in South Pacific, is boundary. Learning boundaries is because
know what a boundary was.
We don't know what boundaries are. If you don't grow up with strong parenting, we don't know what boundaries are. We need our parents to be our higher power to sort of teach us those boundaries clearly, and what to let in, what to sort of guard ourselves to. So we talk about guarding, a guardian. We need to be our own guardian. Being an adult, we need to learn how to be our own guardian. I wouldn't say I'm, like expert at it, but I've learnt that I can easily let in a predatory force or source of energy. Someone's a predator, has predatory energy, and they're seeking to take advantage of you. They'll see a point of entry and come in and take advantage of you. And so this is what I've had to learn a lot about in recovery.
I'd imagine, I'm making this up, speak for myself, I find that the more yoga I do, the more meditation I do, the easier it is to see those things.
Yeah. And an imbalance, like you're talking about. You mentioned that you wanted to talk about balance, and I don't know whether there's ever really such a thing, but there's, in good measure, at the right time, in good measure and practiced, we start to practice something that sort of wakens that part of us up on a regular basis. At a cellular level, we will start to notice, I've got to take care of myself here. I'm a little bit more aware of, that way that person is. I can sort of take a much more discerning outlook on what's going on.
Got it. We might change gears.
Sure.
Tom Carroll, it's the MojoFloBro Fast 5. Tell me your favourite fluffy animal.
You mean like stuffed toy?
No, it could be real.
Oh, well, at the moment, my favourite fluffy animal, and we actually call him Fluffer, is our dog Roomy. Red cattle dog, aged 3.5. He's full-blooded, and he's got to be my favourite animal. Yeah.
Excellent, Roomy. Wonderful poet. What about you? You spend a lot of time in the ocean, Tom. Favourite marine creature?
That's a hard one. I love sharks. I love all marine creatures, but I think the sea otter is one of my favourites. The sea otter, particularly the ones in Northern California that I've met, personally, and
just pop up in the lineup.
Yeah, in the lineup, they're one of the most extraordinary creatures, and I just love their habitat and kind of their expression. They're just a beautiful creature.
Awesome. Who are the funniest 3 buddies on a surf trip, and why?
Wow. It's hard to say. I've got so many good buddies to go surf trip with. Ross Clark Jones.
I knew you were going to say that.
I like going with my brother.
Yep.
And the other third one could be filled with about 50 other people.
Yeah, right.
Individually, but I've got a lot of good friends in the ocean that I love surfing with. Hey, Kelly Slater's really good fun to have along for the ride. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Very unfair question to ask, but I think you covered it well. What do you look forward to most after you've been travelling and venturing for weeks or months when you come home?
When I come home, I just like to be at home. I just love to be. I've just had that experience. I've been away for 3 weeks and coming home and just being in the home environment. And even though on this trip that I was with, I was being catered for fully. Everything was done. Food all day, every day. It's always 3 meals a day, fully
Nice.
and everything's sorted. I come home and I've got to cook again. I've got to get back in the rhythm of the cleaning and being involved with home environment. It's always a bit of a hot topic with my partner, of course.
Yeah.
And but the home environment is very quiet and still, and it's a lovely feeling.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lovely feeling.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your favourite thing to do after a massive long session in the water?
Go and have a feed. I think food with your buddies that you surfed with generally, or anyone. It's nice to enjoy food with someone, and talk over their session or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, nice.
And go and have a really good feed.
Favourite food?
Favorite food. I really like going to this local cafe called Queen Esther. It's in Newport. They make great pita breads and really nice. There's this chicken shawarma, pocket bread that's
Newport
freaking
on
epic.
the northern beaches of Sydney.
On the northern beaches of Sydney. Queen Esther's really good food. They've got another one at Mona Vale. Great food there. And also I like going to local Vietnamese for their chicken salad bowl.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty epic, that one.
Awesome. So,
or I go home and make my own food,
yeah,
which
exactly.
is pretty epic too. Yeah, I love doing that.
Wean yourself off Fijian paradises.
Yeah.
So, Tom, if I'm lucky enough to have a yarn with you again in a few years' time, and we're chatting, and it's around Christmas time in 2028.
Yeah.
What and if you can put your future state in your present, what will you be telling me you're most proud of?
I think if I could say that I'd been able to welcome in the natural course of change, and moved with the change with the least resistance, and actually been guided by strong discernment, presence of discernment in my character that's growing. I wouldn't say it's proud or pride that would be something prominent, that I'd be feeling a sense of kind of a joy around that. It's not like a lightness of being, not like a pride and so on is
It's a bit loaded.
It's loaded with self-aggrandizement, but like someone, I'll never forget my father. That has had an effect on me, and looking for the words, the meaning of words, because he was, there's a literary line running through our family, and not that I possess it, but it's definitely within my father, and he was given an honorary Doctor of Letters at the Macquarie University here, and I'll never forget how much he really affected me through words. And he said, I remember overhearing him eavesdropping in an interview when I'd received my World Championship trophy, and just eavesdropping into this reporter just off to the side of me after getting my trophy, and he and they said, "Oh, are you proud? Aren't you? You must be very proud of your son, you know." And I was really into what Dad. I go, "Oh," sparked up, and he goes, "I wouldn't call it proud. I call it, I'm just very, very happy for him." And I'll go, "What? Why isn't he proud of me?" You know. And then I sought the meaning of the word proud and where it went to, and pride, and those words themselves, they didn't serve him at all. And so, and that happiness that he was feeling was much more heartwarming when he even said the words. Yeah. So it was like I was intrigued by what that meant, but it's very much the way I see, I see my daughters doing what they do, and it's not, a sense of pride comes up because I just want to tell people how, my daughter does this, my daughter does it, my daughters do this, I really want to tell them, but it's not that actually is, it's the underlying sense of happiness that they're doing well with what they're doing is what really fills, a parent with a great a sense of seeing their children doing really cool things.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's funny. One of the guys I'm interviewing up at Byron soon, very good friend of mine, Rama, very spiritual person. He's a Vietnam vet. But these days he's in his 70s. He surfs every day.
Yeah,
so
great.
I surf a lot with him at Broken Head.
Cool.
And I was telling him about Mojo, and he said, "Mojo, Andy, more joy." He said, "You can have that for free." And I went, yeah, right, that's cool.
More joy.
More joy. So,
more joy.
Speaking of more joy, Tom, one of the things that one of our, what's aligned with our core values at Mojo, our mantra is every human being with a heartbeat has a superpower. And we have a big focus around social justice and helping people that might need a leg up. And what I like to do at the end of each episode is ask our guests which not-for-profit or for-purpose organisation they'd like us to support, because our commitment as an organisation is to contribute 5% of our revenue to our charity tribe forever. So who would you like us to bring into the family?
B Centre.
B Centre?
Yeah, that's on the Northern Beaches.
Yep.
I've got a few others on the international scale, but I'd rather just hit locally at the moment, and that's B Centre. It's a wonderful organisation that gives free play therapy sessions to children that are challenged through trauma.
Okay.
And the parents not being able to, it's under high demand, to be honest. And so parents dealing with rough time and their child being affected by specific traumas within that. Could be, domestic violence, could be through just family split, a parent being very ill, things like this that really affect the child and having a hard time in their behavioural patterns, affecting their ability to learn. So they bring them in and put them through play therapy, which is one of the most extraordinary modalities of bringing a child particularly who can't express certain emotions that they start to play out in play therapy, and with an experienced therapist can start to guide them through reintegrating into I wouldn't say normal behaviour, but being able to self-regulate and actually be in a learning environment once again.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, offline, I'll get you to connect me with B Centre.
I'll do that.
And we'd love to do everything we can. But Tom, you've been incredibly generous with your time. It's been a real privilege, and thank you.
My pleasure, Andy. Yeah, good luck with it all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're done.